everybody, let's talk about how to get a job. Let's talk about the methods you could use to get a job, and if you're not having a ton of success in your job search, let's talk about what you can do to get a job. Now, as a template to frame this discussion, I'm going to use this article here. It appeared in 80,000 Hours, and it's called All the Best Advice We Could Find on How to Get a Job. And let's go through this and see if what they're saying holds up. Okay, so they have a kind of introduction here, and then it says the bottom line where it gives you a couple of principles. Now, the first thing it says is getting a job is a sales process. Now, yes, I would definitely agree with this. If your background isn't sales, there's a couple of principles you have to learn. But don't worry, it's actually very, very simple. There's only a couple of principles, and they're pretty easy to do. Even if you're an introvert or an extrovert, or you're just starting out, we don't have a lot of experience, these are actually very easy to follow. Okay, then it says get a lot of leads. Yes, I would agree with this. Getting a job is a numbers game. That means the more people you go to, the higher your chances of getting a job. It's that simple. And if you can go to a ton of opportunities, you will get a job a lot quicker. So it all depends on getting a lot of exposure. It's exactly the same process if you're trying to find a customer, for example. Then it says, prove what you can do by actually doing it. Well, that's true, but I don't think that's a major point. That's minor at best. And then it says, once you get an offer, actually negotiate. Well, that's true, but that's a very minor point. It's certainly not worth being a major point here. And then it says, do whatever it takes to keep yourself motivated. Now, this is true, okay, because a job search process for most people is not going to be over in 2 days. It's going to take a while. And if what you're doing is absolutely reprehensible to you and you're in misery, you're in hell doing the process, that's not sustainable, okay? Your mental health is important, and you need to tailor your method, okay? You need to go through different channels depending on your personality, your industry, and a bunch of other factors. Okay, so this is only going to work if you can do something that is tolerable. So that's very important, and that's why it's important to know the various different methods of getting a job. So if you're ignorant of one or more of the methods, they may be worth checking out for you. It says right here, let's be blunt. You're not entitled to a job, and hiring is rarely fair. This is absolutely true, okay? It sounds very negative, but don't worry. There's very easy ways to get around this, but it is true. These concepts are true, okay? Now, the way this article is structured is that they've done it like a sales process where you got leads, conversion, and then they have negotiate here at the end, which is like a close. I think this is a very clumsy structure to use. If I was writing an article like this, I would simply list the methods one after another and then cover each one from beginning to end because they're quite a bit different. And if you don't do this kind of thing often, you probably don't know of all the different methods and you don't know all the processes, all the steps to do each one. But let's dive in here. Okay, so it talks about leads. Now, they talk about a person who has applied to 70 positions and only got one serious offer. And they're amazed at 70. They put it in italics. Well, I got news for you. If you apply for posted jobs on the internet from sites like Indeed.com, let me tell you, on average, it takes a hell of a lot more than applying for 70 positions to get any kind of response. I think it's more akin to about 1,000 positions for one response, let alone an interview. So this is all relative here. It depends what method you use. If you apply for posted positions on the internet, they are notoriously bad for response rates because it is so easy to discover them and to apply for them that everybody does it. And so they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applicants for each job. Okay, so I would not recommend applying for posted jobs on the internet. Although this is the most obvious and straightforward method that most people are aware of to get a job, it is also probably the hardest and the least likely to succeed. But don't worry, because there are a lot of other easier, more promising methods that you can follow. Okay? Now, it says here how to use leads. Don't just get your CV. Don't send your CV in response to job listings. Use connections. Well, here they are touching on the hidden job market. Anytime you use connections, okay, that implies networking and that implies the hidden job market. Now, if you've never heard of the hidden job market, you need to look it up. Don't take my word for any of this. This comes as a surprise to a lot of people. Look it up yourself. Verify this yourself. You will be pleasantly surprised. 70% plus of all jobs that are out there are in the hidden job market. All the jobs you see posted on every company website, on every job aggregator like Indeed or Monster or any of the other ones, all of those are only 20% of all the jobs that are actually out there. The rest are in the hidden job market. So I often get people messaging me, writing me emails saying, I've been in a job search for a long time. I can't find anything. I'm getting nowhere. What do I do? And my answer to them is the hidden job market. That's where they are. And as an added bonus, those jobs are easier to get because you're not going in with hundreds and hundreds of other applicants. You're only going in against maybe 2 or 3 or possibly even 5, but usually not, other applicants. So already your statistical odds of getting that job are a lot higher. Okay, instead of being 1 out of 200, you're now 1 out of 5. That's a hell of a lot better odds. Okay, so the way to access that, in a word, is networking, and that's where we worry about connections. Okay, they've got all kinds of stuff here, and it talks about referrals. Now, within networking, referrals are one of the methods. I actually would not recommend them to most people. It does work for some people, but for most people, this is not really the most promising method. Now, referrals, at least the way they're talking about them here, they're referring to them. Here are introductions. It's by getting somebody you know to introduce you to someone you don't know that can help you. Okay, so the classic example of this is if you want to work for, say, an engineering company, and you would love to sit down with the head of department of the engineering department in the engineering company. You know that's the person, that's the hiring manager that hires engineers. You would love to talk to that person and make a case for yourself and say, look, I'm looking for a job. I can do this. I'd be a great addition to your team. Well, how do you get in front of that person? Well, let's say you know someone who works in that company. That person may be able to set up a meeting between you and the hiring manager in question. So, you know, the head of engineering. So that's kind of how this can work. Now, this is one method. I don't like this because it requires 2 people to do what you say. It requires your contact to do some work for you and set up a meeting. And then it requires the second person that you don't know to do what you want and hire you. So the odds of both of those happening make it less promising. It's easier just to go directly to the hiring manager yourself. Okay, and it's possible to do that with websites like LinkedIn. You can discover who the hiring manager is, you can connect with them, and you can message them directly. So at that point, it's just knowing what to say. And something simple like, hello, I'm here, I'm looking for a job, I'm excellent at this, I can solve this problem, and if you're ever looking for someone who can do that, let me know because I would love to work for you. Okay, just a simple message like that can work wonders. And imagine if you blasted that out to 200 or 300 hiring managers in the companies around you where you're living that have potential to employ you. That's the way to go. Now, it talks then about recruiters. Okay, and it starts off by saying, we prefer the above tactics, but recruiters can be worth talking to. Well, that's true. I agree with that. I prefer the above tactics too. Recruiters, although intuitively you'd think these are the people that you would talk to, I actually would not recommend you go to recruiters, especially as we go into the future, because they are becoming less relevant, and most recruiters have no idea about the jobs that they're actually recruiting for, and they're ill-equipped to select people who would be appropriate for those jobs, since not only do they not have ever done those jobs themselves, but they've never spent any time observing those jobs or working in that environment. So how would they know what type of person would be the best for that role? They don't. And if you want evidence for this, it's usually when you see that recruiters are used to filter out the first round of candidates, but after that, that goes to a hiring manager, somebody who actually works in the department in question. So recruiters like to think that they are the gatekeepers of large organizations. And if you want to work in the large organization, you need to go through the recruiter. They like to think this. It's not actually true. However, the problem is that a lot of material on the internet that talks about hiring is often written by recruiters. So they're giving you an overinflated sense of how important they are. This is not true, especially as we go into the future. And many millennials and some Gen Xers are finding this. But it can make sense, especially if you're getting a job in a large organization, and if you're working in what they talk about here, where the process is highly standardized. So, for example, government jobs. Then it is less about merit and it's more about process. And in order to do that, they recommend here, they say the most useful thing you can do is to find someone who recently went through the process and ask them how it works. Well, that's true, but how do you do that? The answer, of course, was way back at the top, where they talk about the hidden job market. They talk about connections. Okay, so you're back to the hidden job market. You're back to making connections. So it just reiterates the importance of networking and the hidden job market. That is, as far as I'm concerned, and I've helped many people, and I've taught recruiters in university, that is by far the best method to use to get a job. And if you're not looking there, you definitely need to do it. Now, the rest of this article is basically just minor details like negotiation and other things. So it's not worth covering. But if you do want to get into that, I've done several videos on salary negotiation and other types of negotiation. And you can check out my channel for more videos on how to do a job interview, how to answer a lot of questions that you would get at a job interview, and how to go about the hiring process in general. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope that was informative. You guys are awesome, and I will see you on the next video. Take care.